Welcome to the party. Hi, everyone. Welcome to case study number 3. Familiar faces back again. Great to have you all back. Thanks for being here live with us. Those of you who are watching the replay, I know there's people literally all over the world catching the replays on these because they're in a different time zone. I just want to say thank you to all of you for hanging with us. So today's case study is maybe one that seems a little interesting or a little odd, because normally when you see case studies from neurologists, physios, training companies, they don't often include business. Like we're doing a case study on business coaching. In fact, we are. And it might seem kind of odd at first, but there's a reason. There's a madness to the method, we like to say. And that is, for the last 15 years or so, maybe a little longer, we watched people learn applied neurology and have a great set of tools and an awesome education, but not know how to work that into their business and not know how to grow a business in what is essentially a brand new profession, right? Because once you go through neurotraining, you're no longer just a physio or just a therapist or just a coach or just a trainer. You're way above the normal level of education and application of these tools, but you're also not a medical professional. You're not necessarily like a doctor at that point. So people go, wait, what do you do? You're a neurologist? No, I'm not a neurologist. I'm a coach, and then you kind of have to explain. But when you're in a new profession and kind of in a new niche part of the market, it's not very common, it's not frequent for people to like dial you up and go, hey, I'm looking for a neuro coach. Most people don't know neuro coaching actually exists. And so as part of Next Level Neuro, we decided when we started the company that we're not only going to do education training to build your neuro skills and your coaching skills, we're also including business education along the way. We have the wonderful benefit of having the awesome Kathy Mauck as one of our business partners. Kathy's brilliance actually is in building businesses. She's owned multiple businesses herself. I think she's probably up to 8 or 9 at this point, maybe 10 if I'm counting incorrectly. But at least since 2005, she's been doing specific business consulting. So one of her companies is a business consulting firm, and she takes business owners and helps them level up their business, or you might say find the next level of their business. Get it? And anyway, she's amazing. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the laugh. So she's presenting our case study today. She's going to tell you about a particular business owner that we've been working with who has done an amazing job of implementing and applying neuro into his business, and you'll see the results that he's been able to create. So without further ado, let me hand it over to Kathy.
Thank you, Matt. It's very interesting to switch roles with you and be introduced as opposed to making the introduction. It's hard not to wear both hats, so I have to keep shushing myself as we go. Let me start by asking you a question. In your business, whether you're an owner or a team member, what's the number one challenge? And you're welcome to put this in the chat. What's the number one challenge you feel like you face in growing your business? Is it finding more people? Is it getting in front of more people? Is it the marketing side of making people aware of your business? Is it gaining the education that you need to help the people? What do you feel like, if you had to kind of put one out there as the number one problem that you feel like you're either trying to solve or you're behind the 8 ball, what would you say it is? And don't everybody type at once because I can't read that fast. So I would love to hear what you feel like. Yeah. Succinctly explaining what neuro coaching is. Yep. Explaining what I do. Having to talk to people, but less facetiously finding the right people to talk to. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So over the years, and I think, to be honest, business building and sales and marketing have been something I've been doing since I was very young. And so I have a lot of information over the years. And probably the number one thing that I began to notice with team members and team owners is that there was, like, the number one thing was, how do I get enough people in front of me? How do I get enough people that I can share that I'm the one that can help them? How do I market to them? How do I actually create my value in the marketplace? How do I show people that what I do is different? How do I convince them to try this crazy new drill that I've got? Like, it's almost always circles around either finding the audience, communicating with the audience, getting my name and what I do out there. So around marketing and sales. And what's crazy is that, like, I've said this for years, it doesn't matter if you are the most gifted, skilled, amazing health professional in the world. If you can't talk about it or get people to hear you or say it in a way that you can find an audience that's listening, it doesn't matter that you're the best or that you're in the top 1% in the whole entire area where you work. It doesn't matter if you can't get them to hear you. And so overcoming that obstacle is why we decided to add this as a case study to the overall series of case studies, right? Because I believe that most everyone we've ever met in this arena, oh, you all have such a heart for helping people and such a desire to change the health and the way health is thought of around the world. And you're really proactive about it. And because you have such a heart for it, it's like, if they would just listen to me. Okay, well, this is why we decided to add this as a case study for this week. If that's the biggest challenge that we face, then to me, the number one obstacle that is necessary is, it can't just be that we keep learning new tools and learning new skills, but we actually have to couple on top of that, how do we actually communicate and build a business around it? And this is why we're going to jump into this today. I think number one, building a business is hard enough. I think if you choose to be an owner of a business, you're in already an elite category. Now, if you choose to say, you know what, I'm going to take a field of science that hasn't been around as long as the other fields of science, and I'm going to take that field of science, applied neurology, and I'm going to couple it with my health education that I have. So effectively creating a new profession that has not existed before, that most of the world hasn't heard of. And now I'm going to try and convince these people that I am that much better than everybody else. Okay, build a business, number one. Good luck. That's work. Number two, let's do it in a new way that it's never been done before. So now I've got to learn the communication skills to make that happen. All of that to say that at Next Level Neuro, we basically felt like, if we're going to put you up against two things to make you the best of the best, we better partner that with how do you build your business at the same time. So that said, let me share my screen with you. And let me introduce you to one of our clients, someone that's been with us a very short period of time. And let me just kind of share with you his story. I kind of think the title is funny, Putting the Brains Back in Business. I won't even get into that, how we came up with that title. But let me introduce you to Yanick. All right. Yanick is an applied neurology coach and instructor. When Yanick approached me and asked for help with his coaching, he already had a neurology background. He already had the education, the knowledge. He has his bachelor's in science in sports science. I have to think about exactly what his bachelor's was in. He's completing his master's this year. He's been a professional soccer player in his life. He's still quite young. And he decided to turn his passion and his career into the education and helping of others, right? He had already built an education training program for soccer players when he introduced himself to me, or when he reached out, but he actually was not selling the program. So when I met him, he had not yet sold the program to anybody yet, right? So he joined the program and he began in January, mid-January, like the third week of January. And he joined us for the experts distinction formula. And using that, and I'll talk you through a couple of things that he did today, using that teaching opportunity, he created frameworks and strategies that allowed him to start posting on social media and via email to really build an audience and release his programs that he wanted to teach the group, right? So let me share his first ideas when he came to me were really about, I want to help soccer athletes really thrive, help them play their best game, be professional athletes, etc. And he knew what level of soccer player he really wanted to work with and to help. At the same time, he also really wanted to be able to help people with pain relief and recovery. So he had kind of two hearts that it was very important to him. All right. So in starting the experts distinction formula in about mid-January, here's kind of the first of the program that I took him through. Now, let me just share something with you. Everything that Yanick did, he primarily did by watching a video series. He'd watch a video, he'd do the work. He'd watch a video, he'd do the work. He did that week after week, primarily on his own. So most of this work that he did, he learned by video education and just he listened, he tried it. He listened, he tried it, step by step, baby steps at a time. So here's kind of the first piece that he went through. He went through what we consider the experts distinction formula and the 5 pillars. The first part of any part of growing your business has to be actually creating clarity. As someone who has the heart to help people in the health industry, and I do, I mean, I know a lot of you on this call, you have a heart to help people. It's very hard to speak very clearly with who you are and what you do, because you absolutely know you care about enough people that you want to help all of them, all at the same time. And you really don't want to pigeonhole yourself into, okay, I help people with knee pain. Of course you do. And back pain and neck pain and, right? So you don't like to be pigeonholed, but if we don't create a level of clarity, then from our lack of clarity comes confusion out in the marketplace. I'm going to jump through these pretty fast because a lot of what's in these 5 columns that you'll see, it's not rocket science. There's simply some tweaks that we add to it that make it a little more special and fast. Okay, because a lot of times that's what you all need is a fast delivery. So from creating clarity comes your focus. How do you actually, based on your clarity, dial in the communication that you're going to begin with? And that bottom one on the focus is the most important thing, so that you attract the right clients. Because most of the time, the thing we struggle with is I need more clients. I need to grow my business. I need to get more people in the door. And so I'll say yes to every client that comes in the door. The challenge is we get a lot of clients that we really don't necessarily want to work with, that don't help us actually grow our businesses bigger. So it becomes a mutually not helpful way of doing it. So one of the primary goals is, once you can create clarity, is to create focus so that the right people will find you, right? Next from there is, if you've ever been a team member, there's a certain mental transition that you have to make from being a team member and being an employee to going from employee to owner to CEO to expert. And within that, there has to be the ability to demonstrate authority. And in that particular lesson, with that particular lesson comes a whole lot of language changes. Small language changes that let people know, who you are, what you do, and why they should trust you over somebody else up the street. Okay. And then strategy. This is how we actually take, and here's what's frustrating to me personally as a business builder. I think that most coaches in the business building space, they talk about, you've got to be ready to scale. You've got to, and an old saying is, you've got to make money while you sleep. And you've got to learn to leverage everything that you do. Most coaching programs start right here at column 4. The problem with that is if you don't step through 1, 2, and 3, you're not ready for 4. And so a lot of businesses get lost in the overwhelm of step 4. If you can step through steps 1, 2, and 3, even quite quickly, then step 4 makes sense and becomes where you make money in your sleep and create strategies and processes to actually grow your business and scale it within a year. All right. And then, oh my God. There we go. And then leveraging is that last piece that Yanick really gravitated to, right? How do I leverage what I'm going to do next and create partnerships, repurpose the content that I've got, and so forth. All right, don't want to spend any more time on that. Let me keep going to the second piece. The other most powerful tool. So Yanick gravitated towards 2 powerful tools within the coaching program. Number 1, to build what's called an experts distinction grid. This is where we actually go, okay, who is my audience? What do they do? What's one service, product or service that I offer? And I know the writing is small on this because I wanted you to be able to see more the takeaways of what it is. By building a grid like this for a single service or product, you actually begin to be able to communicate extremely clearly so that your audience that's listening knows that you're talking to them. All right. So the grid was one of his most powerful tools. And I would almost bet that almost every company I've ever coached, this becomes the launching platform for your growth. And then the second tool that he really liked was what I call the 5x5. And yes, it's a marketing tool that's super clean and super concise and super efficient, but it's more of a communication tool so that it takes some of the thinking out of how hard you have to work to get your work out there, right? So those were the 2 that he kind of gravitated to and began with. And then I want to show you what he actually built, all right? This was the first thing. He had a neuroperformance coaching for soccer. And as you can see, he kind of built from the free program up here. He did webinars on agility and injury prevention, and he began posting on social media in this way. He also included, and I just want to share this with you. So once you go from the free programs, he had his low tier, the Neuro Performance Academy. Then he had his Neuro Performance Mentorship, which leads into his like subscription or continuity programs. So he had each one of those pieces and he built each one of those out. It took him until April. So he joined and got started in January. He built this out and sold it by April. All right. So he began putting people through this entire program with those numbers. All right. That was kind of exciting. But then here's what's crazy. And I want to share I kind of want to get to the punchline of what happened with him that was kind of so amazing, but let me do it in order. The second thing that he really wanted, as I told you, not only soccer work, but he really wanted a training program for everyday people, everyday life. So he created the free program, the 10-day program, moving them into, so he has, in every case, he has a free product, a mid-price product, one-on-one training, and then a high-tier pain-free program. So he built that second, and he started that one and began putting people through that in June. Right. And then now here's my favorite thing of what happened to Yanick and his business since January. In his free program, he was teaching free webinars to get people in the door, to build some authority, to show people who he is and what he does. He had a single person, a single woman in one of those free webinars that was in there because her son had not made it to the next level of professional soccer. And so she's on that webinar and she reaches out to him afterwards and she says, hey, I own one of the 2 largest physiotherapy organizations the boards in Germany. I'd like to know, do you teach physios? And he's like, absolutely. And here's what came of that. He began, same thing, free program for physios first, for physiotherapists and physical therapists, which then led to this on the side over here, the foundational workshop, which then led to advanced training, and then the modules that came afterward in the next 6 months. Because he knew the clarity of who he was and what he had to offer, and he knew who his audience was, when that woman who had a lot of, she knew a lot of people in the world and in the industry that could really use his teaching, she was able to say, hey, she said, do you do this? And he was like, absolutely, I can do that. And he built programs that so let me show you this group right here. I just went up one screen to talking to the general public. He kind of has placed that group specifically on hold right now. He's got the people in those programs and they're running through the programs and he's staying with those, but he's not advertising that one right now because this one, the soccer coaching group, and this one have now grown to be the largest portions of his income this year. Right. So all of this is in less than a year. And every single one of these, now I will show you this, what you see in the black brackets here. So the case studies and the webinars, he's working on building more of those out. So that's why they're in brackets to show you they're not done yet. This part in brackets, he's moving from just the foundational workshop to the online academy so that he can actually help more physical therapists and physiotherapists at a time. And then he's building the deeper piece of this deepening module for 6 months. He's building it out more completely to be launched. He's moving from that to this advanced training, building it at the moment for 2024. All right. All of that to say, step by step by step, this is what he has actually built. None of this existed prior to January. Every single one of these programs now exists and has had people that are purchasing it and going through those programs now. Here's where he is today. So this was kind of his testimonial. And to me, this was very telling because he kind of tells you a little bit at the top. The most important thing that I think in this testimonial is the word right here. The how is the critical aspect of building a business. Yanick was driven. He has an amazing work ethic. He knows his value and what he wants to create and how he wants to show up in the world. He's done the trainings, he's done the work, he's done the education, he's done the study. What Yanick really needed was someone to say, make a left right here. Now say this right here. Now show them this. He just needed someone to tell him how to do it so that he could step into that. For me, my belief in all of you that have a goal to make the world a better place in health, honestly, that's probably what you need, is someone to just go, here's how you do it. Say this right now. Here's how you do it, right? Because you know your skills are that high level. Thank you for watching a new kind of case study today. And I think hopefully as you look at this and you look through these slides, one of the main takeaways I would love for you to have is that you go, okay, it's possible to go step by step by step if someone will tell me which steps to take and which steps to stop taking. That's probably my most important takeaway that I would share with you today. Matt?
Awesome. Thanks, Kathy. So one of the big takeaways here is all of these case studies that we're presenting. We've done now 3 of them. There's 3 more coming up in the series, by the way. So Monday next week, Thursday next week, Monday following. You got 3 more in the series. But the case studies are intended to both give you inspiration and also maybe give you some ideas of how you can implement or apply some of the tools that you have. They're not sales presentations, okay? But I do want to tell you that the business program that Yanick participated in is restarting in October. So I don't want to do a big sales pitch. That's not why you're here. But if you are interested, just reach out and let us know, and we'll give you the information on that. It's different than the mentorship program that we talk about all the time. It's a very easy program to get into. So that's restarting. I think the actual date it begins is October 16th, which is just about 10 days from now. So you have a short runway, but you all are invited if you want to be part of that. The key from this case study is what Kathy just said about the how. But if you're rewatching the replay or looking back through the slides, the hinge point where Yanick's where Yanick's business really begins to change and become different and more successful is when he got to those first three pillars of the expert's distinction formula. When he really nailed down his clarity, focus, and authority, the sales basically started making themselves, right? The right clients started coming to him and finding him rather than him having to chase all over the internet looking for the right people to talk to. And even the story that Kathy told about the one woman who was in the webinar who reached out to him and said, "Can you teach physios?" The only reason that woman would even speak up or even have the idea to pursue him as the instructor is because he was already demonstrating clarity, focus, and authority in his workshops and online and in his teaching. So those are really the crux of building a new business in an area that is a new profession, like we've been talking about. If you can get those three, everything else starts to fall into place. Okay. So if you have been struggling with that, give some consideration to having a conversation with Kathy and see what your best next steps might be. And if you're not in a place right now to do a program, that's totally fine. At least take that idea and you have the outline that's on the slide and go, who's my audience? What are the problems I solve? What is my specialty? What am I the expert in? And then secondly, is my messaging really staying on point? Or am I getting distracted? Like squirrel over here and squirrel over there. And I'm talking about the next shiny thing, or I'm posting pictures from my holiday or the picnic or whatever. Like, it's just a matter of how focused your messaging is and how much of your expertise and authority that will attract the right people to you. So, like I said, there's a madness to the method. And I know I'm flipping those words on purpose, but there is a way to do this, even though it's a new profession, even though it's a niche part of the industry that not a lot of people have heard about. You can create a really thriving business in a very short amount of time when you nail those 3 points. Okay. So as a company, Next Level Neuro, we would love to help you with that down the road as you continue to grow and learn, but also to build your business. We're not the ones, this is what I'll end on. Next Level Neuro is not the one, we're not the ones who are trying to get on every stage on earth and change the whole view of health and wellness. What we're actually trying to do, and our mission, is to build a community that will change the world. Matt is not the guru. Kathy is not the celebrity. That's not who we really want to be. We want to have a community of people, almost like a grassroots movement that is changing your local communities, your cities, the states, and the countries where you live, and you're making an impact. We just want to help you do that. So this is the entire reason that we put business education into our mentorship and into our programs, is because it's not us that's going to change the world. It's actually you that's going to change the world. You're the ones who are going to do that. And it's becoming more and more your time and your opportunity. We just want to help you try to figure out, what do you need to be doing a little bit more of? What do you maybe need to do a little bit less of? And then you can shoot forward just like Yanick did. So all of that, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate those of you who are live and those of you watching the replays. Next webinar is Monday, October 9th, same time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific. The topic is From Pain to Performance. So we're talking about rehab from an applied neuro perspective. So all of you physios, here we go. Time to do a little physio work. All right. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. We'll see you all on Monday. Have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.